What up, people? Coach V, New Breed Boxing. Someone just DM'd me this morning and asked me a great question. They said, what is the single most important piece of advice you would give to someone looking to take boxing or MMA or any of the combat sports the competitive route? And this is not only something that's part of your pre-fight instructions, it's also something that would serve you well in your personal life as well. So I don't care if you're stepping into the ring or the octagon for the first time or you're stepping out of your baby mother's house. Protect yourself at all times. That's something I think people hear it, but they don't really apply it as much as they should. For example, whenever you willingly engage in mutual combat with another human being, whatever happens to you is completely on you. You are responsible for your own personal safety. And whether it's a miscommunication or you were unclear about some circumstances or whatever the case may be, protect your front. And in the street, you protect your back too. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about combat sports and dealing with a person that's in front of you, you have one person to deal with. It's not a surprise. They're not going to magically appear behind you and attack you. So you know what you're dealing with. You know what I mean? And guys, sometimes they get hurt, whether it be in fights or in sparring, and they act like, oh, they thought the round was over, or they thought there was a break, or whatever the case may be. It doesn't really matter. If you get your head busted open, that's your fault. Can't blame anybody else. And if you do, you're only hurting yourself because you're not going to really get to the root of what the problem is, and that is you weren't paying attention. You can't be slacking in that ring, man. Anything could happen to you in a quarter of a second. That's quicker than the blink of an eye. So just think, you even blink too long and you can get hit with 2 or 3 shots, much less if you're actually lackadaisical for any reason. You know, you get distracted by somebody in the crowd, you're thinking about personal things. You got to be fully engaged in that situation. Perfect example I'll give you. Go look up the fight with Mayweather and Victor Ortiz. A lot of people thought that Mayweather hit him with a cheap shot, and a lot of people thought he was, you know, in the wrong and that he should have been disqualified. The referee said time in. Victor Ortiz was headbutting him illegally. He was fouling him. And Mayweather's if there's one thing you gotta acknowledge about him, he's a professional. He knows everything about the sport from A to Z. He studies the rules, which I always advise my guys to study the rules. Don't just think like a fighter. Think like a judge, think like a referee. You gotta put yourself in all the shoes of everybody around you. The art of war. Know yourself, know your enemies, know the environment. You gotta understand every aspect of the situation and the circumstances you're faced with. So, excessive apologizing coming from Victor Ortiz. He kept, trying to hug Mayweather, this and that. Mayweather gave him the whatever. He reciprocated. He was like, all right, whatever, I'll give you a pass. And then he tried to hug him and apologize again after the referee said time in, and Mayweather jumped in on him, bop, put him out, ended the fight. That wasn't a cheap shot. Ortiz was just oblivious to protecting himself at all times. And that is just a perfect example of how, and he was actually doing really good in the fight. And that's all it took, was just one bad move. One lapse in attention could cost you everything. So, again, the biggest, most important thing that I would ever tell anyone, and I'm telling you like from a coaching perspective and even from a personal friend, I say this to my kids, I say this to people, just in my daily life. Prevention is better than cure. Try to avoid things from happening by doing your best to see the circumstances that you're in and what the threats are. Do your threat analyzation, look around you. There's a lot of variables. I mean, I'm talking in and out the ring, but being aware and being, as in tune with your situation from one second to the next is going to serve you better than 99% of the things that you're going to learn in your life. Just simple common sense and being aware. So protect yourself at all times, stay engaged, stay focused on the task at hand, and definitely study all the rules too in the sport of boxing, because that's something I'm going to go into in one of my upcoming videos. But, understanding the rules and knowing how to bend them a little bit and apply them to yourself to prevent yourself from having any confusion and potentially losing a fight, or even worse, getting hurt because you were unclear on some of the guidelines and, some of the protocol of how boxing is regulated, It's going to serve you very well to do that homework. So anyway, I hope you found this informative. Like, subscribe, comment, share. And if you want to put some stories in the comment section about some situations where you might have seen somebody that wasn't really paying attention, or some weird situation where someone got distracted and it cost them a fight, I'd like to hear about that. And go check out my Instagram, coach.v_. Till the next time, we up out of here. Out.